For only the third time in history, the impeachment trial of an American president is underway in Washington. The Senate began its proceedings against Donald Trump this afternoon, setting up an epic battle over whether Trump should be removed from office. As Jackson Proskow reports, even as the trial gets going, there's still debate about the evidence it will hear.
Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye.
How the impeachment trial will unfold.
The Senate will convene as a court of impeachment.
Dominated day one in the Senate.
Americans do not believe there will be a fair trial.
Where lawmakers tried to set the rules, outlining how each side will make its case.
Although the evidence against the president is already overwhelming, you may never know the full scope of the president's misconduct or those around him.
Democrats want to hear from witnesses, including White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney and former National Security Advisor John Bolton.
The president!
Both men have knowledge of the president's scheme to pressure Ukraine to investigate Joe Biden.
The only conclusion will be that the president has done absolutely nothing wrong.
The president's lawyers have argued against that, while Senate Republicans use their majority to push for a speedy trial without witnesses to shield Trump from further scrutiny.
The Senate agreeing to pick up and carry on the House's inadequate investigation would set a new precedent that could incentivize frequent and hasty impeachments from future House majorities.
A trial with no evidence is not a trial at all. It's a cover-up.
Lawmakers remain so divided they can't even agree on when to debate the issue of calling witnesses. With the Republican-controlled Senate all but certain to exonerate Trump, their bigger concern may be ensuring that predetermined outcome appears at the very least legitimate.
Americans need to believe this proceeding was full and fair, and that's the way they will judge us.
Jackson, what are the chances some Republicans will ignore party lines and vote to allow witnesses?
Well, Robin, several have already hinted that they're open to the idea of hearing from witnesses, but they don't want to make a decision about that until later on in the trial. It is worth noting that some Republicans also pushed back against their leadership today on some of those other rule matters that came up, and Leader Mitch McConnell actually gave in to their demands, so they may have some leverage here.
And the rules surrounding this impeachment trial are tightly controlled. What kind of restrictions do politicians and the press face?
Yeah, senators can't bring any electronics into the chamber with them. They must sit in absolute silence for the duration of the trial. Reporters, too, have faced heavy restrictions. There are no independent cameras or still cameras allowed inside the Senate chamber. Reporters can only bring in a pen and paper, no electronics, and they've actually lost access to many of the places where they can normally question senators on Capitol Hill. These are all rules brought in by the Republican majority.
Jackson Proskow in Washington.